Hi everyone. We're going to quickly talk about the distributive property which you will need to use in the homework for the weekend. As you remember, the first step of solving equations is that you actually need to start by simplifying. Well, one of the things that you need to simplify is any multiplication that involves a set of parentheses with items inside of it. For example, we have 3 times and then in a group, right, 2a plus 5, and we signify that group with the parentheses. So we don't have 3 2a's and we don't have 3 5's, but we actually have 3 of the entire group. So if we think of that as having one group of 2a plus 5 and a second group of 2a plus 5 and a third group of 2a plus 5, right, you can see how it's all three groups. Now, we wouldn't necessarily go ahead and write it out like that, right? But we're going to think about it as multiplying, distributing in. So we multiply the 3 times the 2a, 6a. We also multiply the 3 times the 5, 15. Now remember, you may multiply anything, right? So the variable with just the number itself, that's fine. And the number times the number, that's also fine. You can only add or subtract like terms, right? So this 6a and this 15, we can't put them together because they're not like terms. But as far as multiplying or dividing goes, we can go ahead and do that. Here's an example of a problem where we have multiplication over a subtraction problem inside the grouping. It works the same way. So we have to figure out what we're distributing. So this is multiplication there. It's 5 times that group. This 2 out front is just addition. So we're not going to do anything with that. We're going to ignore it for now. We'll just multiply the 5. Remember, we have to do multiplication before we do anything, before we do any addition. So we'll do the 5 times the 4a, 20a, and we'll do 5 times the 2. Right now this is subtraction, so we'll keep the subtraction. It's 5 times 2, which is 10. And we'll keep this 2 plus out in front. And now we have a problem that looks very familiar from what we were doing before. So we can simplify by putting together like terms. The 2 and the negative 10 can go together to be negative 8. We have our 20a here. Can't do anything with that. Now we can go ahead and solve this problem. We can actually get to the solving at this point because up until this point we've just been simplifying. We run through the golden rule, remember, doing to one side what you would do to the other, and as we divide we get a fraction answer, and it's okay to leave it just like that, almost, right? One final step, we just have to reduce what goes into 18 and 20. We have 2 that goes into both, so 9/10. Perfectly reasonable answer. One final word of caution, and it's right here. When we have subtraction, and what we're subtracting is the number that's being multiplied, right? This is where turning it into adding the opposite will help you. Often, we want to sort of see the 6 as being the thing that we multiply, but we're not multiplying 6 of those items. We are actually subtracting 6 of those items. And so the way that our brains are going to start to see that is by saying, okay, I'm going to take the subtraction and turning into adding the opposite. So what are we going to actually distribute? We're going to distribute negative 6. We distribute negative 6 here. And I'm going to do the same trick here, right? Here's another subtraction. So I'm going to make it into adding the opposite. I'm going to distribute a negative 6 there. So as I do that, I have a negative 6 times a 4. And I have a negative 6 times a negative 3a. And that's going to be 18a. I'll let you go ahead and finish that up from here, but that's a really important thing to watch. Anytime that you start with a subtraction sign, it's really important to think of it as adding the opposite.